This original WSRE presentation is made possible by viewers like you. Thank you.
She impressed critics and wowed fans as Mary Poppins on Broadway. Ashley Brown on this edition of Conversations. I'm Jeff Weeks. Thank you for deciding to spend some time with us on this edition of Conversations. Boy, are we lucky this time around. Ashley Brown, fresh from Broadway, joins us. Welcome.
Thank you.
It is great to have you with us. I know you just finished up in Los Angeles, big tour for Mary Poppins. What are you doing now?
I'm in LA at the time. My album just came out in February, so I'm just kind of focusing on that and traveling around doing different concerts, sometimes with symphonies, sometimes just with my little jazz band. And it's just been amazing just to go around and be Ashley for a little while. Good
for you. The album that you have, I guess, just recently produced is entitled Speak Low. Tell me about it.
Speak Low, I just kind of thought that was a great title because it's jazz music, which is so different from any of the other music anybody's ever heard me sing. Obviously, it's not English Nanny, you know, I'm not doing the soprano stuff that most people have heard me do. And so that's why I think I was so attracted to that music, is just to go a complete different direction. And Speak Low is actually one of the songs on the record as well.
How did you go about choosing the songs you were going to put on?
It was hard because jazz standard songs, you know, you have My Funny Valentine, Speak Low, If I Were a Belle, all those songs that people know and love. It's hard to narrow it down because there's so many good songs. But I started with about 30 songs and kind of narrowed them down as I met with my arrangers and with my manager. We kind of just figured out which ones would work the best, and that's how we did it.
Now, is this the first time you had been in the studio for a major project?
Yes. I did the recording of On the Record, which was a Disney show I first did, but this was my first time in the studio doing a CD just for me. I've done little things here and there on different musical theater CDs for different shows, but it was really amazing to be such a part of the process, to pick my songs, say what I like, have my musicians, and all of us really work together and collaborate.
How did you like the studio environment compared to the live audience environment?
I love it.
Do you?
I do love it because, you know, I'm in this little sound booth and I'm singing by myself, and I just can enjoy the craft of singing and enjoy, you know, because on stage, you know, people can see me and see what I'm emoting.
Right.
In the studio, you really have to work on making those colors just come through your voice because you're not able to be seen, which is a lot harder than it sounds. And so I would really have to make sure maybe I smiled a little bit more, or I just had to feel it even more than I do on stage because I can't rely on my body.
That's interesting. Any albums in the future after this one?
I hope so. I hope so. Hopefully Sony and Ghostlight stick with me because it would be a dream to come true, to do like a Broadway album, do a classical album, do more jazz, I'm just open. I just love recording. It's something I want to continue to do.
Let's jump back and talk about Mary Poppins, because that's probably what you're best well known for at this point in time in your career. How did that come about? How did you become Mary Poppins on Broadway?
Oh gosh, it felt like a long journey, but it happened so fast to me, and I never thought it would happen. I went to college at the Cincinnati Conservatory of Music right out of high school, and I just trained and trained and trained and trained to try to graduate as a full package. And I was expecting to move to New York, you know, wait tables, work at Banana Republic, you know, do what I had to do to keep auditioning and be able to live in an expensive place like New York. And I auditioned, and a week later, I booked a show called On the Record, which was a Disney show that toured. And while I was in that, the Disney producer said, you know, we're looking for a new Belle in Beauty and the Beast on Broadway. And I was like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. So they flew me to New York on my day off, which was a Monday. So I went and auditioned. The first time I was so nervous. It was horrible. My knees were like shaking, and I was just a bad audition. So my agent called and they're like, they like you, but they want to give you another chance. They think maybe you can do better. I'm like, okay, that'd be awesome. So a couple months later, I went back, and I was so much more comfortable with the material that I felt really good about it. And 3 weeks after that, I found out I got Belle in Beauty and the Beast, and I was the 15th Belle, which was a good solid number. So that was a dream come true. So I thought, you know, I'm a lead on Broadway. I'm so young. What did I do to deserve this? And I was just having the time of my life. I had made such good friends within the cast, and living in New York, doing what I've always wanted to do within 2 years of graduating. So I was still pinching myself. I think I still am. But my agent called and said, you know, Mary Poppins is coming to Broadway and they'd love to see you. But nothing special. I mean, I was auditioning with like 300 other girls. So long story short, or long story long, I guess I should say, is I went in about 7 times for Mary Poppins over a period of 4 months. So every time I was going in, I was singing the song practically perfect. I was dancing, I was doing Step in Time and Jolly Holiday and doing everything. Not to mention, as you can hear, I'm not really English. I went with the worst English accent ever, but I gave it my best shot. And so it was and then at night I was doing Beauty and the Beast. So every single day from about 10 to 6, I was auditioning. And I was in front of Cameron Mackintosh, in front of Richard Eyre, the director, who had done many, many films. And with Tom Schumacher, who's head of Disney, Matthew Bourne, the famous choreographer, they're all sitting there watching me learn Mary Poppins, basically. Because, you know, Mary Poppins dances, she sings, she acts, she's on stage the entire show. So they just had to make sure I could carry it, obviously, since I had to do the whole script, basically, before it was all said and done. So I was getting ready for Beauty and the Beast, and Tom Schumacher came in my dressing room, and I was getting my wig on for Belle, and he goes, "You know why I'm here, right?" And I was like, "I don't know," because inside I think you protect yourself when you're auditioning for something, because after 7 times, I'm invested. I really want it. If I don't get it, I'm going to be a little sad. Sure. And so, but I think you protect yourself by saying, "Oh, I'll be a good understudy. You know, I don't have much experience. I know the other girls I was up against, they have done a lot more Broadway shows than I have. I'll be a great understudy." Well, he comes in and he goes, "We want you to be our Mary Poppins." And it was on April 20th, 2005. I'll never forget it. And I just started bawling because I knew my life had changed.
Yeah. How difficult was it to do the Beauty and the Beast show that night? I mean, were you just so wired?
Oh my, I just got chills thinking about it. Yeah. I was just on cloud 9. I couldn't believe it. It was probably one of my best shows because I was just like, what? I was just so excited. It was just like singing for it, you know. It was just such a good feeling to know that feeling that you get when you know you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. It's such a, I just wasn't expecting that feeling so soon. I knew that I always wanted to do this, but I didn't know that I had that special thing that made me be able to be at the right place at the right time and be prepared.
What is that special thing, though? What separates you from all the other folks who are out there auditioning?
You know, I think timing has to do with a lot, timing. But I think of this, I love it so much. And growing up, people say, "Oh, you sacrifice this and you sacrifice this." And I guess I never viewed it as a sacrifice because homecoming versus rehearsing for Hello Dolly, I know it sounds silly now, but it's a big decision when you're 16. But I chose to go to my Hello Dolly when all my friends were getting dressed up for homecoming. And I'm not saying that particular, but it's that kind of mindset I was in. I was just had a goal in mind and I wanted to get there. And I still continue to get better. Like this morning, I had a 2-hour lesson with my voice teacher that I've been working with since I was 14 in Pensacola, where I grew up. And it's just that mentality that I still have, that I still want to get better. Just because I've made it on Broadway and done 2 big roles, it doesn't mean that I can't get better. And so I think that's my mindset, is I'm in it to win it.
I read somewhere that you, I guess you were quoted as saying you love to practice, you love to rehearse.
I do, because I feel like it's such a, I love singing so much because I think it was a gift from God that I was able to do it. And I think it's another gift that I was given discipline. And I think that those two together, you know, there are times when I would waver and I would get frustrated, but that feeling you get when you work so hard at something and you finally get it, you know, something clicks, a light bulb goes off. It's just such a great, great feeling. And so I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in, you know, timing, meeting, preparation, kind of. You know, I was in New York for a week. I went in for this part of On the Record, and the girl, they were looking for an insecure, inexperienced, you know, person. That was me in a nutshell. Right. You know what I mean? Right. I think if they wanted somebody confident who knew what they were doing, I wouldn't have booked it, because that's not where I was in my life. Right. And I think every time I go into audition, because I've gone to auditions where I haven't gotten the part, where I haven't even gotten a call back. But it kind of, you have to just realize, okay, it's not because I'm not talented, but it took me a while to be able to say that. Right, I'm not saying I definitely have my insecure moments where I'm like, oh, what did I do, you know? But there's sometimes they're looking for height, blonde hair, and it's amazing how many people really don't have an imagination. I'm like, remember wigs and heels and, you know, all that stuff. But anyways, you know, I digress. But, you know, there's many times where, you know, I haven't gotten the part, but you just keep going. And I've never changed who I am and what I bring to the table. I want to continue to get better. But if you keep changing yourself because of what one casting director thinks you should be, you're going to end up a whole mush of things. Right. So if you just stay what you do best every single time, regardless of the show, obviously you're playing a character, but I'm still Ashley. And that's what I've kept trying to do. Even though I'm nothing like Mary Poppins, I wish I was. I wish I was a little more tidy, a little neat, but I'm not. I still brought my sense of humor to it when I went to the audition room. And it wasn't what Julie Andrews did, and I took that risk of, you know what, I can't do it like she did. It was amazing. She did it the way she did to the fullest extent. There's no copying that.
Right.
And so I really went in with my sense of humor, with the way I feel she is, and I think she might be a little sassy. And so that's kind of, I think that's why I booked it. Well, that's what they told me, is they booked it because they saw me in it and enjoyed that I took such a different take.
You were your own person.
Yeah.
You mentioned something I want to come back to, because I think there's a lot of young people out there who aspire to do, whether it's athletics or performing or whatever, but once the rejection starts hitting them, they back away from it. How do you overcome that?
It's really hard, but you know, I have to say I've been very fortunate to have had so much positive stuff happen to me that when I have those dark days, I can be like, you know what? But I've to build myself up. I mean, sometimes I look in the mirror, I'm like, girl, you've been on Broadway, you need to get it together, you deserve to be here. I kind of have to really talk myself up, because I'm a performer. I constantly am putting myself out there every single day, and it does make you a little insecure, because you're giving your heart and soul into every audition, and when somebody says, I don't like that, or I don't like you, you're like, it's very personal.
Sure.
I think in any other job, if you do another job, it's not as personal, it's separate.
Right.
You know, like, I live to work, I don't work to live.
Right.
And I think it's really hard to pick yourself back up, but I think that's when strong family and friends, you know, are really take a strong part in that.
Before you go to an audition, do you visualize your performance? Do you visualize your audition?
And that's usually the worst thing I can do, because if it goes any other way, you're like, oh. Because I sometimes do better when I'm less prepared, because I just go with it. But I still get so nervous before auditions, you wouldn't even believe it. The couple days before, I'm like, oh, this audition on Thursday, you know, I think I'll always be that way.
You may be less prepared for the audition itself, but I'm not trying to put words in your mouth,
sure.
but you're sort of prepared at your craft, because what you said before, you've been practicing and working on it for many, many years. Which, take me back, how old were you when you first started singing?
I was 6 years old when I was singing at church, you know, like in the children's choir at church. And that was my very first solo at Gulf Breeze United Methodist. And
your hometown.
My hometown. And every year I sang Oh Holy Night. I started that about 9 or 10. But I just was given a little snippet solo in this little musical called Ba Ba Bethlehem. And I was dressed as a lamb. It was one of my proudest moments. And I remember the choir director being like, oh my gosh, she can sing, but I was 6, you know. And my mom tells this great story how she was sitting in church for Ba Ba Bethlehem, and she was sitting there, because I would always scream around the house, but most 6-year-olds do. And this woman next to her goes, Marsha, well, I didn't know Ashley could sing. And Mom goes, well, I didn't either. And so then my mom always tells that story, because she was just kind of, she knew I liked to sing around the house, but it never clicked in her ear like, oh, I wonder what she's going to do when she grows up. Right. So after that, I was hooked. And I kept getting positive reinforcement by keep getting solos, and then they asked me to sing Oh Holy Night. And then I joined the Pensacola Children's Chorus in 4th grade, and kind of worked my way up in that. You know, at first I didn't get any solos because there's, 80, 100 kids. Right. And about 6th or 7th grade, I started kind of getting little solos here and there, nothing crazy. And then I started voice lessons my freshman year of high school. And because the best advice I ever got was from Susan Pote, when my mom, because nobody is in music in my whole family. And so my mom's like, I wish you would have come with an instruction booklet, because I'm the youngest of 4. And she's like, all the other ones have, cheered and done gymnastics, and here I am, a singer. And Mom's like, what do I do with her? And she said, let her just sing as a young child, and let her go through all the changes that, women go through, and then start voice lessons so she gets as much natural talent as possible. And so that's kind of, I felt it good, because I still feel like I have a very natural, even though I'm trained, I still have a very natural quality to my voice.
Would you say that it's important for parents just to not necessarily push the kids, but just if they want to do it, let them do it?
I feel so strongly about that. I thank my parents for that every single day, because they never pushed me to do it. And I never was allowed to quit anything. Because there were many things Ashley did. Ashley was never very good at sports, but I wanted to be in the volleyball team because the outfits and had a matching ball. But I realized that's all I liked about it. But I wasn't allowed to quit because, I signed up. I didn't have to go back the next season, but I didn't quit. And that's the same with everything I've ever done. I tried everything, but I was never allowed to quit. And I think if I ever came home to her and I was like, Mom, I don't take voice lessons anymore, I'm sure she would question it. Okay, all right, but let's finish out this year. And I never did that because I always knew it was my decision that I wanted to do it. there were days where I'm like, I do want to go to the movies with my friends. I do, you know, this, ever. And then Mom's like, well, just think about the big picture.
Right.
You know, go, your lesson's an hour, just focus, go do that. Then you can go meet up with them after the movie, whatever. Right. And so she was kind of my voice of reason of, there's life after being 16, and you know, and so I think that was really instilled in me, and because I loved it, it wasn't too much of a struggle.
It was guidance,
yeah, exactly.
as opposed to push. Mm-hmm. Do you play musical instruments?
No. It was funny, I took piano when I was younger, but my mom realized about 3 years after I started taking lessons that I wasn't reading my music. I would get my teacher to play it, and Mom can actually play the piano. I would get her to play the song, and I would sound it out with my ears. So I still am like that. I mean, I can plunk things out, right. But I never really learned to read music until about high school or college, so I started, you know, singing my arias and stuff like that.
Interesting. When you've worked with some, you know, phenomenal musical folks, you know, and I mean, I was reading something, I think Marvin Hamlish was just saying some very nice things about you. And
yeah.
That must be intimidating to walk in working with people at that level. What's it like?
It is. I kind of just have to remind myself that they put their pants on one leg at a time too. I think that's what gets me through. And you know, when I'm sitting there singing in front of Cameron McIntosh, I'm like, I learned about you in college. Like, what am I doing in the same room, you know, right. having dinner with you, right. and all this stuff. And it's just, it's one of those opportunities that I'm like, I can't let this pass me by. I have to do the best I can, be the best I can, be prepared, because the best thing that can happen is if you're asked back.
Right.
There's always an opportunity to be asked, but to be asked back is the best compliment you can get. And so I just always show up as prepared. As they're the conductor, of course I have my artistic choices, but if I do what they want, I don't complain, I'm on time, I'm 15 minutes early. If they need to stay 15 minutes late, I'm just not one to, I'm there because I love it and I want to do well. Right. And I've met some performers that I'm like, if I ever become that jaded, I'm out. It's too much work to
right.
not love it. You know, doing 8 shows a week, rehearsing all the press, all the rehearsal, the stamina, the discipline of having to go home every single night and not be able to go out all the time, or, you know, it's finding that happy balance. And it's just, I'm lucky to have that be my problem.
Because when you're doing a Broadway show, you're doing 8 shows mm-hmm. per week?
Yes. We do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 8, and then we do Saturday 2 at 8, and then Sunday at 1 and 6:30.
Wow.
So by Sunday night, I am really tired. I look forward to the flying part of Mary Poppins because I actually get off my feet for a minute.
I could absolutely.
So it's a tough schedule.
I can imagine. Well, as you have to incorporate all these things in these shows, the singing, the dancing, you know, the acting, I would assume the singing is probably what you enjoy the most, mm-hmm. and that's sort of what you can. How difficult was it to get the dancing and to get the acting part down?
It was, you know, I worked on it really hard in college because I knew I came into college as a singer, and as hard as it is in front of your peers to work on your weaknesses, mm-hmm. that's what I made a decision sophomore year. I'm like, you know what? It's really easy for me to get up and sing a song. Right. It's not as easy for me to get up and do a dance. It's not as easy for me to get up and do a Shakespeare monologue. But I did it. I pushed myself. I'm like, you know, this is my time to fail, because in New York, they don't care right. if I can sing better than I can act. If I have to go in for a monologue, that's all they care about. So that's what I really worked hard. And even though it was really hard, but every time I go back to colleges and do a talk back or something, that's the thing I stress. I'm like, work on what you're not good at, because this is the time. And because the more packaged you are, the more you can do all 3, the more hireable you'll be. Mm-hmm. But I've always just kind of enjoyed now learning the dances. Like when I first got Step in Time, I'm like, what an awesome feeling, because I never thought I'd be tapping on Broadway. Right. I thought I was a singer. You know, most leading ladies like just sit back and watch everybody else dance. Right. But meanwhile, Belle in Beauty and the Beast, you know, I danced with the napkins, you know, and be our guest with little fan kicks. And, you know, when Mary Poppins, I'm being lifted, and, you know, and all these ballet lifts. And I'm 5'7". I've always been a bass, you know, I'm not used to being lifted. But you know, I had to learn to be graceful and to be merry as when I walk, when I go up the stairs, when I dance. And it was a big payoff moment for me to be able to do Step in Time and finally get it down.
What was the biggest surprise for you once you got to Broadway?
Oh, the biggest surprise, I think, is how not glamorous it is. I have to be honest. You know, I think they tell you in college how much what we do for a living is so hard, because it's so hard to get that first chance, that mm-hmm. first opportunity. And so they're like, you know, you're waiting tables and you're doing this and you're living week to week, check to check. which is extremely hard. But when you're working, it's trying to find that happy balance of, I was 22 and going through what all 22-year-olds go about and have at that time in their life, you know, living by yourself, feeding yourself, you know, living on your own in New York City, much less, you know, heading up a Broadway show. And I think, you know, the parties and all that stuff is amazing, but they're work. I don't go to be like, yeah, let's relax. I'm going to work, to network, to meet people. And then I'm having to do 8 shows a week. And then when I went to Mary Poppins, it's a brand new Broadway show. I'm the first Mary, not the 15th Mary, which brings on the Today Show, the Tonight Show, the this, that, and which is amazing experiences. But at the end of the day, I'm the one that has to do the show at night and be practically perfect in every way. I mean, that's a song I sing. I can't be kind of perfect, you know. Right. And so I think that's was the hardest part, is finding, because little things like talking on the phone. Mm-hmm. I sing 8 shows a week. I found it very hard. So when I first went into Beauty and the Beast, you know, texting wasn't as big as it is now. I mean, I'm so thankful for texting now, because I'd be like, Mom, love you, I'm alive, you know. You're right. But there'd be days where I'm like, I can't talk on the phone. And, you know, you kind of lose track of friends and family. And it took me to about my 2nd year of Mary Poppins where I was able to find a real healthy balance, because it's just as unhealthy to just work. And it's just as unhealthy to, you know, meet with your friends all the time and be vocally tired and really tired by Sunday night. So to find that happy balance of checking in with at least one family member every couple days, and maybe meeting a friend for a quiet lunch, or it's those little things that I kind of learned along the way.
Do you find that after you do a show, or after you've been doing a show for a week or so, have you just given so much that it's almost a struggle to communicate with your friends or family?
Yeah, it is. It definitely is. I mean, I just am consumed in that world. Mm-hmm. And everything I eat, the way I feel when I wake up in the morning, is all determined for what I have to do at 8 o'clock that night. If I wake up and feel a tickle, the day is very stressful. Mm-hmm. If I, you know, have a lot going on, if I have another audition or if I have an interview, it's like leading up, you know, can I have spicy this afternoon? I'm feeling a little acid reflux. You know, it's like I'm in a corset every single night. It's those little things that most people don't have to worry about, that everything I eat, speak, say, do the night before, whatever, makes it a hard decision for me. I have to think about it, you know.
Take me through a day. Let's just say you're doing Mary Poppins on Broadway. Mm-hmm. So you wake up in the morning. Take me through your day.
I wake up really late because I don't get to bed. By the time I wind down from the show, I didn't get home to about 11:30. I'd probably go to bed about 1:32. I'd wake up, if I was able to not have anything to wake up for, which was always a blessing, I probably would wake up about 11:30, 12. And I would wake up, take my dog Eddie on a walk in Central Park. And that was my time to leave my BlackBerry at home to just have my Ashley time before, you know, it all started. And then I would kind of, you know, hum a little bit throughout the day. I would try to go to the gym. But, you know, I would try to eat, because I couldn't eat after 6 because, you know, I fly, I'm in a corset, you know, have the audience in mind, you know. And so I just, that's kind of, it's a very boring day because I kind of, everything leads up to that. Right. So, and then Saturday and Sunday, I do it twice. Right. So those mornings I wake up at, you know, 10:30, then I'm at the theater at noon, then I'm done with the matinee at 5, then I have to be back at 7, and blah, 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 blah. You know, it's just an ongoing. It just never stops.
So what time would you get to the theater?
An hour before. An hour before. When I first started, I got there about 2 hours before. Okay. Because it just took us a little while to figure out my makeup and my wig, because they used some of my real hair in my Mary Poppins wig, and so it was a piece of artwork by the time it was done. Mary's little wave in her bun. So,
do you have aspirations to do movies or television, or do you want to stay the Broadway channel, or both?
I do both. You know, I could never imagine leaving music behind, because I think it is my true passion. But I'm definitely open just to see how LA is. I'm in LA taking classes and been auditioning a lot, and being in front of the camera is just such a new thing for me, but I've really enjoyed it, and it's just been a really nice break, and totally opposite of Mary Poppins.
How different is being on Broadway than being in front of a television camera or a movie camera?
It's different. You know, you don't get that audience feedback. You don't get the love, you know. It's the applause and the laughter and you know when you got it. I feel like in TV and film, if you land a joke, you're like, was it funny? No one's laughing, but nobody's there. Right. So it's that kind of stuff that's, you know, you have to get used to. Right. And also, you know, it's just communicating. You have to communicate smaller on TV and film, but at the same time, you have to be able to read it. You know, I feel like on Broadway, you get your whole body, you get your whole, you know, product to let you tell the story.
Which one's more difficult?
I think for me, because it's so foreign to me, is TV and film, because it's new. Right. You know, it's new to me. It's a new thing that I have just begun. And because Broadway, now I've had so much experience, and that's what I went to college to do.
Right.
But it's really nice for me to have this new challenge and just see what it's all about. But I mean, Broadway's my love, and I'm really hoping that once I have some Ashley time, which I'm taking right now, to move back to New York and take it on again.
Good deal. Is that what you always dreamed of as a small girl growing up, is Broadway?
Yes, definitely.
More Broadway than Hollywood.
Yeah, more Broadway, and being a recording artist would be a dream come true as well. And it's funny because my dream came true so early that I've been so lucky to be able to come up with new dreams. And because when I first stepped on that stage as Belle in Beauty and the Beast, I was like, I can't believe it. I just can't believe I'm here. And it's only, what did I do? You know, what do I have? What do I do? Why'd you pick me? You know?
Right.
And so after I got married, and then after when I was in Belle, I was like, now I want to, you know, now I have a new dream and I want to create a role on Broadway. Then that happened. I'm like, oh my gosh. And so I just had to kind of think, what do I want next? Because I was thinking this wouldn't happen I didn't know when.
Right.
And so I feel really fortunate to be able to have new dreams.
Talking about music, and you have the new album out, and I want you to tell everybody in just a moment how they can go about getting a copy of it. But do you write? I'm just curious. Do you write songs?
I haven't, but I want to, because I have a couple friends who we kind of, you know, mess around with music sometimes. And so I want to get into it. I think it's just kind of finding those people who have that same type of feeling that you do and kind of get you to emote those things, because it seems kind of daunting to me because of all the great music I've been able to sing. Everything's so witty and smart, and I just wonder if I have that, but I'm definitely looking into maybe starting to do some.
Where will we see Ashley Brown 10 years from now?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Hopefully being in a new Broadway show with 5 records out of all different kinds, and just being as happy as I am right now. And and I know I'll still be me and still have my family and friends and the support of my hometown, Pensacola and Gulf Breeze. And so I think hopefully just more of the same and better, bigger and better, hopefully.
How can someone get a copy of your new CD? It's called Speak Low, Ashley Brown.
You can go to, it's at Borders around the country, and also on Amazon.com, or you can go to AshleyBrownOnline.com. Okay. And you can find out all my concert dates, where I'll be with all my record, and also where you can buy it.
Ashley Brown, you have a great deal of passion. That's why you're so successful.
Thank you.
Not to mention you're loaded with talent. Thank you so very much for joining us. Ashley Brown, what an impressive performer she is. She's, as I said in the opening of the show, impressed the critics and certainly wowed the fans on Broadway. And we greatly appreciate her spending some time with us on this edition of Conversations. I'm Jeff Weeks. Take good care of yourself, and we will see you soon, and we'll also see you on Facebook and online.